So thank you all so much for being here. We're so excited to have launched Solarize Garfield County this week. It's a solar forward program from Solar Energy International, and it is offering an amazing opportunity for Garfield County residents and businesses. So we've had an incredible response so far. We're all just ecstatic with how excited people in the county are, and it really goes to show just how much people want solar in Garfield County. So I'm Zuleika Pevic. I work with CLEAR, Clean Energy Economy for the region. We're here in Carbondale. And my colleague, Maiza Metcalf, she's the Director of Consumer Engagement at CLEAR. She'll be moderating the Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions during the presentation or afterwards, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen rather than the chat box. That will help her keep the questions clear and in order so that nothing gets left out. 1 second. Okay, so in this presentation, we are going to go over what and who Garfield Clean Energy is. That's the GCE team. We're going to look at energy efficiency opportunities and options in Garfield County, why going solar for your home or business is a good idea, what the Solarize program is, how Solarize makes going solar easier, how you can participate. We're going to look at how Solarize can save you money in going solar. And then we're going to have a presentation by Rich Klubine, who is the installer with Active Energies Solar. And then we'll finish up with a Q&A at the very end. Next slide. So Garfield Clean Energy, our mission is to provide energy efficiency solutions, education, and alternative and renewable energy opportunities to all individuals and organizations in order to build a stronger, more resilient economy, benefiting citizens of Garfield County. So it's a collaborative of 9 different entities. It's all of the towns in Garfield County, plus the county itself, Colorado Mountain College, and RAFTA as well. And it is administered by CLEAR. So we get all of the programs from Garfield Clean Energy out to the public. Next slide. So a big part of what we do at CLEAR is energy efficiency. And so we're always looking for opportunities to help people in their homes and businesses be more energy efficient. So a lot of you I know have already had energy efficiency assessments done in your home. And this is a really great opportunity or a good chance or time to do it. If you're thinking about going solar, having an energy efficiency assessment done at your home is a really great way to start. So when you get an assessment done, you learn where your home could use an efficiency upgrades. So you've probably seen pictures of this before. There's one on the screen now of a blower door test, and maybe you've seen some infrared pictures where there's cold air leaking in from the outside. But you want to find out where your home could be a little bit more efficient. And then you also learn about the energy upgrades you can do to increase your efficiency. So if you need to weatherize your doors and your windows, or if you need to put extra insulation in your walls and attic. So all of this is figured out during the assessment, and then you get a complete report at the end that lets you know everything that you could do and how it will save you energy and of course money in the end. And then there's lots of rebates available for various efficiency upgrades. So whatever company or person does your home energy assessment, they can help you figure out what the rebates are. And of course, we can too. That's why we're here as well. So we're happy to help anybody figure out where they can get money back for their various upgrades. So overall, it saves you money. And of course, it helps the environment. And that's a big part of what we're doing here. Next slide. So Solarize is a national program, and It is an opportunity for us to go solar altogether. And one of the reasons, I mean, there's many reasons for going solar. The sun is an unlimited energy source, and we're lucky here on the Western Slope. We average about 300 sunny days a year. So it's a great place to take advantage of the sun. It also creates energy independence. So instead of relying on the utility to send you your energy, you own it. It's right there on your house or on your property, on your business, and it's a great way to be a little bit more independent. It's a really good investment. Typically, of course, all of these numbers are averages, but typically a 5 kilowatt system can save you over $1,000 a year on your electric bill. And a typical payback period is around 9 years in Western Colorado. And so even if you're planning on selling your house before before you've actually reached the payback period, it adds a lot of value to your home as well. And of course, electricity prices tend to go up rather than down. And so having your own energy, making your own energy kind of locks you into the same price, which will save you money in the long run. And it prevents a lot of greenhouse gases. So typically you can prevent about 6 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. And to think of it in a way that we more typically understand, that's driving over 15,000 miles less a year. So it really makes a big difference. It takes a lot of green CO2 out of the atmosphere. So Solarize is a time-limited opportunity. It has launched this week, March 1st, and it goes through June 4th. So this is the time. Now is the time. Next slide, please. This just is a very simple demonstration of how the gray line is the line of you paying for electricity into the future without solar. And the orange line shows the initial upfront cost of a solar installation, but how what you end up paying goes down over time. And then, of course, you end up saving or earning money in the end, because you have all of the energy you need. You're not paying the utility anymore after your payback period. Next slide. Okay, so this gets into the Solarize program specifically. So it's really been designed to make it easy for communities to go solar together. So a little brief history of how we ended up choosing Active Energies Solar as our contracted installer for the Solarize program. We sent out an RFP to companies, to solar installing companies back in December. They put proposals together and sent them back to us. And we had 6 different companies give us proposals. And then we had a committee who looked at various criteria on how, the important parts of the program and how to choose the installer. And the representatives were from Garfield Clean Energy, Holy Cross Energy, Garfield County, and CMC. And so we chose Active Energies for lots of reasons, including their experience with Solarize. They've had 2 very successful campaigns in Summit County. They also had a really competitive pricing structure and rebates. Plus they had extra incentives, such as $100 towards a home energy audit if you go through with installing solar. So those, plus a lot of other reasons, they seemed, they really were absolutely the best choice for this program. And we're really excited to be working with them. And you'll hear from Rich a little bit later, like I said. So, we have our installer, And that is one of the main things with Solarize, is that it is specific to the installer that we have contracted with. So now, with the Solarize program, you're going to be guided through every step of the solar installation process. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming to think of all the things that you have to do to get there. And Rich and Active Energies and us at Clear, we are all here to help and to make it as easy and painless as possible. Some of you who have signed up already, you may have already received a call from Active Energies. You may have already set up an appointment. You might have already had an assessment. So, you know, it's rolling. Even though we're only 4 days in, we are well into it. Next slide. And this just, again, a little bit about Solarize. You're going to get all your questions answered by us and by Active Energies. It's safe. It's a very easy purchase path. You're going to get your system below market cost. That is, we'll talk a little bit about how you're going to save money in a minute. So that includes the financial incentives. You've got these amazing installers and Active Energies, and it's just a great way to get going on solar. Now is the time. Next. So there's 3 main ways that you're going to save money for, through the Solarize campaign. So it's a bulk purchase program. The more people who sign up, the more of a discount everyone will get from Active Energies. So they have a tiered pricing system, and that allows greater savings for greater participation. And this is the time when you call all your friends who you think might be interested, at least in getting an assessment done, and tell them about Solarize, because the more people who are doing it, the bigger the savings are going to be. So the price per watt could be as low as $2.80. And if we get up there, that's up at a megawatt of installations. Every customer will get a $500 rebate from Active Energies. So it's huge. And people may probably know that Garfield County has 3 electricity utilities. It's Holy Cross, Xcel Energy, and Glenwood Springs Electric. So Holy Cross and Glenwood Springs each have their own rebates available, and Garfield Clean Energy is providing a $1,500 rebate for Xcel customers because there aren't other rebates through Xcel. So number 2 there on the slide is the utility rate rebates. It is a first come, first served thing. We do not have unlimited funds, unfortunately. We wish we did. But we hope to use up those rebates and get people solar for less expensive sooner rather than later. And then finally, there's the federal tax credit. So there was, it was supposed to go down this year, the federal tax credit, but it didn't. It's being maintained at 26% through 2022. So your actual tax credit will be based on your tax liability. So you have to talk to your tax professional about what kind of credit you're likely to receive. But there is really big potential to save a lot on that. So like I've said many times already, now is the time to go solar. So next up, we are going to hear from Rich Klubine at Active Energy Solar, and he's going to go into a little bit more about his company and about the Solarize program. So thanks so much, Rich.
Thanks. Hopefully everybody can hear me. My name is Rich Klubine. I'm the owner of Active Energy Solar. We are based in Eagleville, so we're an Eagle County company, but we do a tremendous amount of business in the Roaring Fork Valley, including Garfield County, and we have done so since 2006. We are very excited to be a part of Solarize Garfield. As Zuleika mentioned, we were selected in 2019 and 2020 to be the exclusive Solarize installer for Summit County. And in the last 2 years, we've installed over 840 kilowatts of solar. And based on those numbers, In a single year, all of those systems save over 1,500 metric tons of CO2 from being in the environment, and about 800 metric tons of coal being avoided being burned. So we're very proud about that, and we feel like we can have a massive impact in Garfield County. Right now, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. We're just at the end of day 4, and right now we have 175 people signed up on our tracking list. Our sales team has reached out and contacted, I think we're down to 160 of them. So if you signed up in the last couple hours, we'll likely reach out to you tomorrow. And so let's go through the slide deck. I want to just kind of give an overview, next slide, of our grid. So we get our power from lots of different sources. A little bit less hydroelectric, although anybody who's driven through Glenwood Canyon has seen the hydroelectric power plant that's operated by Excel. We do have solar up in the top center from the home, as well as businesses. And then there are commercial solar farms and wind farms, as well as everybody's probably aware of the Comanche coal-fired plants and other coal-fired plants around the state. So we have a diverse mix of energy in the state of Colorado. The thing is that we're trying to get more green, and Governor Polis has a goal to be 100% renewable energy by 2050. So we have a ways to go. If you want to go to the next slide, this just kind of describes how power gets to your home. You have a power plant, and then step-up transformers. We've all seen the very large transmission lines, and then substations, and then distribution stations in our neighborhoods, transformers near your home, and then the power lines that come in and allow you to turn your lights on. So we'll go to the next slide. This gives a snapshot of the renewable electricity standards. This is the renewable energy portfolio by state. Governor Polis has committed to a much larger goal, but by state law, what was passed was 30% by 2020. We also have some other partners, if you want to go to the next slide. So looking at each individual utility, Xcel Energy has a goal to be 100% renewable by 2050. So this is their mix in 2019, the latest year that they provided that information, but they went from 28% in 2019 to 30% in 2019. So in 1 year, they added 2%. And one way that they will need to get to that goal is by distributed solar on rooftops, homeowners, and businesses. Go to the next slide. Holy Cross just announced a couple months ago that their goal is to be 100% renewable by 2030. So they have 9 years to go. Not 100% sure where they're at exactly, but I know that they are bringing online this year a very large solar farm and a very large wind farm out on the eastern plains of Colorado. And then we should all be very proud, next slide, of Glenwood Springs Electric. They committed in June of 2019 to buy all of their power from renewable sources. So they get all of their electricity from wind power. But it's still important to bring it home. There's transmission from basically Nebraska, getting the power to Glenwood Springs. And they're very keen on adding renewable energy at the distributed level in homes and businesses. I want to go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about solar basics. How does this stuff work? We don't really think about how we get power. We don't really think about how much we're using until we get our bill, honestly, and then and how it all works. So I just kind of want to walk through. The next slide just talks about power and energy. So power is work over time. So when you have your computer on for an hour, that is you're consuming power, and energy is how much it takes instantaneously to deliver to turn it on, so to speak. So the average desktop consumer consumes 200 watts instantaneously, and just remember that number because I'm going to touch back on it in a minute. So let's look at the solar panels and how they work. Next slide. I have a degree in chemistry and economics, so I could super nerd out on you here, but to keep it in simple terms, solar panels are made of glass and silicon, and there's positive and negative silicon. And when light hits the solar panels, it excites electrons, and those electrons flow. That's a very, very basic explanation. And so you generate power on your roof, and that roof top power is direct current. And for all of you who want to know, direct current is like a battery. So it flows one way. What you get in the outlet in your home is alternating current, and that's created by spinning machinery like a hydroelectric dam or a power plant that's spinning turbines. So the solar panels produce a certain type of power, and then there is equipment that transforms that power into usable. So if we go to the next slide, this is an example of a solar power array. We, for this program, are using SolarEdge. They are the #1 inverter manufacturer in the world. They currently have about 70% of the US inverter market for residential. So they are by and large the biggest, most reliable manufacturer out there. So solar has gotten much better over the years. On the upper left, you see what's called a power optimizer. That's a module level or a solar panel level electronic device that allows that solar panel to operate at its peak efficiency at all times. Older systems that were using a central string inverter, if you had one panel that was shaded by sun or snow, all of the other panels in that string would only operate at the lowest limit. So this technology came out about 7 years ago, and it has transformed the industry, reliability and increasing production. So the power goes from the roof to the inverter where it transmits it transforms it into power that you can use in your home. If you want to go to the next slide, there's a really good graph on chart on how this happens. So the solar panels produce energy, it goes to the inverter converts it from DC to AC, and then it goes through a production meter and then plugs into your panel through a breaker. If you have lights on in your home, or you're running your gas dryer or doing the wash, something like that, the solar power will provide energy to all of the loads or whatever you're using in your house first. And if they're producing more energy than you need at that time, they'll actually go back out on the grid and spin your meter backwards. Colorado is very unique in the fact that we have very strong net metering laws. And what that means is when you produce a kilowatt of energy on your roof that you don't consume at that time, the utility is required to store it for you. And then they give it back to you. So say when the sun goes down and you're using more energy when your solar is not producing, you get that energy back from the grid. So that's called net metering. You go to the next slide. I just want to kind of show you what energy costs. So there's different rates among utilities, but if we assume that we've got a computer and it uses 200 watts and it's on for 18 hours a day, 360 days a year, that computer is costing you about $163 a year to operate. The average household in America uses 11,000 kilowatt hours, decimal place is off, but $1,201 of electricity. Sorry, that was a rounding error. We'll go to the next slide. For those of you who have Excel, it gets kind of confusing with all the different rates. But at the end of the day, at the bottom, you're paying $73 per month for 647 kilowatt hours. So there's taxes and fees and different rate charges. The next slide is actually a snapshot of my personal home. Blocked out the address, but I have solar on my roof. And when you have solar that produces more energy than you need, you get a credit. So if you look at the center of the screen, the bottom, this was my bill from January to February. So at the end of February, the end of January, I had 3,942 kilowatt hours left in my solar bank. Now my roof is fairly flat. And so snow builds up on it, and I don't get as good a production in the winter as I do in the summer. So I build up a very large solar bank in the summer months and then work that down over the winter. So Holy Cross they go on a solar calendar year. So their solar calendar year starts April 1 and runs through March 31st. So in essence, I pay a connection fee to Holy Cross. That's at $12 plus a 2% surcharge. And that goes towards the generous Holy Cross rebates. So my bill every month is $12.24 and has been so since I installed solar on my new house in May of 2018. So that's just a snapshot of what my personal utility bill looks like. If you want to go to the next slide, this is a chart that shows kind of the different costs of solar. This shows if you cannot fully offset your bill, if you can get, say, 75% there, The light orange at the bottom is you're basically buying solar and you're locking in your utility rate for the next 25 years that the solar array is going to operate. And they'll last longer than that, but that's the warranted life. We actually have a system in Eagle that was one of the first installed in Eagle County and in Colorado High Country that was installed in 1974, and we manage that on a yearly basis. It is still producing power. So do the math on that one. It's 40 some years and it's still running strong, 50 years almost. But basically what you see in the gray area is the historical average for utility increases since 1960 is about 4% of inflation every single year. Some years are more, some years are less, but that has been the average rate of utility electric increase. So if you can imagine that your bill is 10 cents a kilowatt or 11 cents a kilowatt now, it could be as high as 20 or 30 cents a kilowatt in the future. And other states have higher rates as well. If you go to the next slide, here's a shot of an array that we did. Looks pretty in the background. That's what solar would look like on your roof. These panels are a little bit older. The ones that we're using for this program are all black, so it will look like a sheet of black glass on your roof. Next slide, please. I apologize for the busyness, but I'll walk you through what's on here. This is the process for Solarize that we've worked on with Garfield Clean Energy and Clear, and that we've been implementing as the program has started this year. So somebody calls in either to Garfield Clean Energy, or they go on the website, or they call our office, and we will put them on the list. Our goal is to contact someone who signs up within 1 to 2 business days. We've been doing a tremendous job. Our sales rep for the Roaring Fork, Eric Van Wagenen, has been doing a fantastic job. He's almost through the list of everybody who's signed up. And I actually just see somebody signed up in the last 5 minutes. So Eric will reach out to you and we'll schedule a site visit based on your availability. And he's working long hours, and has a lot of people to see, but everything is on a first come, first served basis. After he does the site visit, he will present you with a proposal. So he'll take roof measurements, he'll get your electrical consumption, and that's the really important part. We cannot proceed without your annual electrical consumption. And that's pretty easy to get. You can either go on your local utility website or call their customer service line. Holy Cross has an online form you can fill out, but you just need to ask them what your total last 12 months kilowatt hour usage has been. And the reason that's important is we are limited by state law to 120% of your current electrical consumption. So you can, if you have enough roof space, build a system that will virtually guarantee that you won't have a power bill except for your connection charge. If the proposal is accepted, we go through a contracting process and we use DocuSign. And so we have the customer sign documents for not only the installation, but also the utility application process, and we handle everything for you. I jokingly say that all we need is signatures on a few documents, a contract, a check if you're paying cash, and then utility interconnection, and then we handle everything else. So our team, once the contract is signed, within 3 days, we do the electrical diagrams that are required for permitting, and we submit them to the local building authority. So it'd be like Carbondale or the county, that's administered by the state. So we take care of all of that for you. Permit approval usually takes about 1 to 2 weeks, and the utility approval takes anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the utility and how many applications are in their queue, but it usually happens around that same time. So right now we're at about 3 weeks out from you guys or somebody reaching out to us. The installation is scheduled for about 6 to 7 weeks from when we submit it to the utility, and we in our office will keep everybody posted as to when their installation date is. A typical installation, and that's a system that's 7 to 8 kilowatts is about our average, takes about 1 to 2 days. We have a master electrician on staff. He's been a master for over 40 years. And he does the electrical interconnection. Following our completion of our work and installation, we have inspections performed. And once that inspection is approved, we submit to the utility. The utility will send a crew out to test the system and set a new meter if required. And then your system will be turned on and operating. At the very end of this whole process, one of the ladies from our office will reach out to the homeowner and schedule a final walkthrough, where we give you all of your documentation, copies of the final permits, your receipt for the solar array for your tax purposes, and the appropriate tax forms that you'll need to file. And then we'll train you on how to monitor your system. Each system comes with free monitoring, and you can check it from your computer, a mobile application on your phone, Android or iPhone. And then we also passively monitor your system as well in our office, just to make sure that everything is operating. But we really rely on our customers to be checking their systems at least once a week, is what we tell folks. Because right now we install about 300 systems a year. So as you can imagine, the volume of systems that we check on a more passive basis is growing every single year. If you want to go to the next slide. This is a chart showing the rebates that are offered. So as part of our proposal that was accepted by Garfield Clean Energy to be the exclusive provider of Solarize Garfield, if the more people who sign up and the more solar we install, the better the rebate is for folks. So if we install only 95 kilowatts, the people who sign up and go solar will get a $150 rebate. I will personally write a check and sign it and send it out to you. We anticipate those rebates will go out sometime in late August or early September, once we've installed all of the systems. And then, as you can see, the rebate goes up. And if we install more than a megawatt, everybody will get a $500 rebate. The caveat to this is that they max out at 2.5% of your system cost, just from a budgetary. So if you have a smaller system that's very small, say under 3 kilowatts, you may not get the maximum rebate, but you'll get at least 2.5% of the total cost of the system back. So that's one way that you'll save. There are 35 rebates there that Clear is administering. There's 17 with Glenwood Springs Electric that are being administered by Clear, and then the county is kicking in 18 rebates for Excel. Right now, as of day 4, we already have 2 systems under contract for a total of 22 and just a little over half kilowatts. So everybody's guaranteed at least $150 rebate from me. And then walking through the other rebates, Holy Cross has a graduated rebate structure, so that based on the size of your system, they will provide you with a rebate. That's why there's no additional rebates for Holy Cross. They're very generous. They typically run, depending on the system size, about a 10 to 15% discount off of your retail price of solar. So the rebates are on a first served basis, and they'll be guaranteed only when you sign your contract. So right now we have 2 contracts signed, so we are down to 16 Excel rebates. There is no limit on the availability of Holy Cross rebates. They make that determination every December, and they decided to continue at their generous rebate level through the end of 2021. At the very bottom in small print, we have committed as a company to subsidize up to $100 of an energy audit, because we feel it's really important that solar is important, but we also believe conservation is as important. So we don't want you to put solar on your roof just so you can use more energy. LED bulbs and things like that, upgrades, additional insulation that can make your house more energy efficient. Is really at the heart of what we do as an organization, trying to get people to be more adept stewards of our limited resources of energy. So we want to go to the next slide. Talk about the 26% federal tax credit. And so there are some misconceptions about this. This is not a cash payment. And I'm going to use an example of a system that costs $20,000, for example. So a system that costs $20,000, the federal tax credit will be valued at $5,200. That tax credit is applied against any taxable liability that you may have. So if you owe the federal government $6,000 in income tax at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you would get a deduction of $5,200. So you'd only have to write Uncle Sam a check for $800, or you would get a refund back, from the government if you had paid in. Now that tax credit is good for 3 years, so it can be rolled forward. So folks who, I get this question a lot with folks who are on fixed income who don't have a huge tax liability. So if you don't have, if your system, rebate would be $5,200, but your taxable liability is only $3,000, you would carry forward that additional $2,200 into 2022 tax year, and it would expire after 2023. So you have 3 years to exhaust that per federal law. So let's go to the next slide. And this is, I created a number crunch for both Excel and Holy Cross, and just to kind of show you what it looks like and what you can expect in terms of a return. So like I said, our average size system is about 7.5 kilowatts. And if you can see from the photos, the panels that are there are all black. It's just a black sheet of glass on the roof. The estimated energy produced on this system is about 11,400 kilowatt hours. And that's about 110% offset for somebody who has an average electric bill of $100 a month. So that's kind of right in the sweet spot. The cost of the system through the pricing that is set for Solarize Garfield for a standard system is it would be $22,226. If you are a member of Excel and Glenwood Springs Electric, you would be eligible for a $1,500 Solarize rebate. And then right now we're at $150 from Active Energies. And then the federal tax credit of $5,259 for a grand total net cost after you get your tax credits and rebates of about $15,000. So you're going to save almost $7,000 on the cost of your solar through this program. And what that looks like is about a 9% annualized return. So think about putting that money in the bank and the bank paying you more than that 0.5% that they're giving you right now, but getting a 9% guaranteed return on that bank account for the next 25 years. This translates to about a 9-year payback with a system like this. Next slide, we'll look at the exact same system in Holy Cross. And I'm sorry, the slide formatting got a little wonky after we put it up here on the web. So the same size system, same production, same cost. Holy Cross's rebate would be $3,522.60 for a system of this size. The Active Energies rebate of $150. And because you're getting a larger rebate, your federal tax credit's a little bit less. It's on the actual cost of what you pay for the system. But the total cost that you would outlay after tax credits and rebates is $13,690.40. So an additional $2,000 savings on your system. So the ROI is a little bit better at 10.5%, and you shave off half a year in terms of the payback on the system. So hopefully all of that makes sense. We can go to the next slide. What we're going to look at is what does this mean for you in your home? So solar is by far the best home improvement project you can do. And the reason I say that is that if you put a $15,000 solar array on your home, you're paying less than $15,000. And it adds $15,000 of value to your home. There was a study done out of the University of California, Berkeley that showed, this was done a couple of years ago, that showed that houses with solar sell 30% faster than houses that don't have solar. And the reason for that is a potential buyer is going to look at a house with solar and say, well, that's one less bill that I have to worry about every month that the solar is producing. And I don't have a power bill. So that's just kind of a quick snapshot at that. Let's look at the environmental impact. Next slide. So this system that we've been describing, about 7.5 kilowatts, will avoid 6.8 tons of coal being burned every single year, which translates into a little over 13 tons of CO2 that won't go into our atmosphere. Most people don't realize that water is a huge resource that is used in energy production, and you're saving about 9,500 gallons of water. And we all know where our snowpack is right now. So saving water is another big plus out of solar energy. It's the equivalent of basically taking a car and a half off the road per year. So the average person drives about 13,000 miles a year, a little bit more here, or the equivalent of planting 45 trees every single year that your solar array is producing. The next slide shows a screenshot of what you would see from the SolarEdge monitoring platform. This is just an example, but it shows how much solar you're producing. on a monthly basis. And then it shows the weather. SolarEdge updates the data, so you almost see it in real time. It's about every 5 to 15 minutes, depending on your internet connection. If we want to go to the next slide, I talked a little bit about energy efficiency. Here's my plug for changing out your light bulbs. They cost a little bit more, although that cost is coming down, but they last a very, very long time. And they save a lot of energy. So you can save significantly by just changing out something as simple as a light bulb. And the light's a lot better and cleaner than they used to be with the compact fluorescents that turned everything in my home green when we had them. But the next slide shows you an example of a ground mounted system that we built. So we can do rooftop, we can do ground. It depends on things like HOAs and how much roof space you've got and if it's allowed by your local jurisdiction. But that is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for attending. Thank you all for signing up. I see we're almost at 180 people signed up. Another 5 people signed up in the last hour that we've been talking, or 45 minutes that we've been talking. So if you have any questions, I'm gonna let Zulika and Maisa direct questions, and I'll be here to answer questions for a little while. I apologize, we're running about 45 minutes here on our time. So we do have a 15 minutes, and I'm willing to stay a little bit longer if people have additional questions.
Great, thank you, Zuleika, and thank you, Rich. Yeah, we have quite a few questions, and since we only have 15 minutes, let's try to go through some of these. I had a question from a homeowner. Does the system have to go on the roof, or if, for example, if you have acreage, can you put it on the ground?
It really depends on where you're located. So Colorado has something called the Solar Access Law, where municipalities and HOAs cannot deny solar on your roof. If you don't put it on your roof, they can deny it on the ground. So it really depends on where you're located and what the HOA says about it, or what the local municipality. We installed a system in Garfield County across the valley from Sunlight on the eastern side, and we had to go through a 2-month process to get approval from the HOA because nobody had ever installed a ground mount there. The roof was not ideal, so we can work with you on that. The answer is yes, but there is a little bit more of an involved step to do that.
Great, thanks, Rich. There's a question here that I think I've heard a lot in the last few days based on what happened in Texas. If there was a power outage, can the system still operate?
The answer is yes and no. So we do grid tied systems, and we can do grid tied with battery backup. If the grid goes down and you do not have batteries, the solar array will not produce power. And the reason for that, it's a safety issue. So if you have Holy Cross or Excel or Glenwood Electric linemen working on the lines, you don't want solar energy going back onto those lines, say if there's a down power line. So the system would shut off. With batteries, we would install equipment that would isolate your home from the grid. It's called islanding. And we could install batteries to feed backup loads. And typically the loads that people select are like kitchen lighting, refrigeration. A lot of folks have natural gas heat. And so they would make sure that their heating system controls, so the electricity that powers when the heater comes on would operate, and then maybe garage doors and a few lights here and there. And you can build batteries as large as you would like, but they come at a cost. Our grid is very reliable. I know in Holy Cross's territory, the average homeowner only loses power for about 20 minutes. So that's across everybody in Holy Cross. And it's similar to Excel and Glenwood Electric. But we can work with you if that is a desire. The first system that we sold through Solarize Garfield includes 2 10-kilowatt batteries. So we have already gone through the contracting process on one. So.
Great, thanks, Rich. Is the $2.80 a watt before or after incentives?
It's before. And if that's the best way to measure apples to apples, is what the cost of the system is before all the rebates. And so there is a graduated pricing based on the size of your system. The larger the system, the cheaper it is, because you have fixed costs in terms of inverters. There are certain adders, like if you have a say a cedar shake roof. That is a lot harder to install on. It takes more labor. So there are cost per watt adders depending on your roof and how many different array aspects that you do. But for simple arrays that are, 3 arrays, or simple solar arrays that are 3 aspects or less, it's flat rate pricing. But we will walk you through what that is. And just so everybody knows, all of the contracts will be reviewed, pricing and things like that by Garfield Clean Energy. And then there is a final audit process by Solar Energy International out of Paonia. They're the ones who started the Solarize program. So everybody keeps us on our toes, but just want to let everybody know there's checks and balances to the pricing.
Great, thanks, Rich. Now with the permitting process, do you guys also submit and obtain like HOA approval?
We work with homeowners on HOA approval. We have 4 ladies who work in our office. 2 of them who only do permitting for this program. So we literally get all of the paperwork needed. The homeowner signs it. We go before the HOA. Usually, well, now with COVID, it's all remote, so we submit it. Sometimes we'll have meetings with them to walk through it. But just know that HOAs cannot deny solar if it's on your roof. So it's usually a rubber stamp process. Where it gets complicated is if it's a ground mount or something unique.
Okay, we do have an HOA manager in the webinar, and he did just wanted to make sure that the installation have been reviewed and approved by design review.
That is correct.
Okay,
yeah, we submit to the HOA, they submit it to their design review board, and then we work with pretty much every HOA I can think of in Garfield County over the last 15 years we've been doing this.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about the roof condition? Like, is this something that you guys look when you do the initial inspection and you tell the homeowner, look, might need a new roof, contact this company? How do you guys deal with re-roofing and roofing?
So we're not roofers, but we're on them every single day. So if our folks who are doing your assessment think that there is a question about your roof, we'll talk with the homeowner. And we work with a lot of different roofers, local, and we would, provide you with, names, numbers if you wanted them, or you can go find your own roofer. There's no, financial incentive for us to use one roofer or another. We just want folks to get the best system that they can. One thing I'll note about folks who needed a new roof, I am not a tax professional, but we have had customers in the past who have done re-roofs in order to do solar. And their tax professionals have said that they could claim the cost of the roof against the solar tax credit because it was part of the project. Now, that's not me promising. My attorney would kill me if I said that's a done deal, but definitely talk with your accountant or tax professional if that is the case.
Great. And a couple questions here. Can you talk a little bit about what panel manufacturer and wattage of panels are being offered?
Yes. So we've purchased 2 shipping containers of, they're called Hanwha Q cells. They're actually made in just outside of Atlanta, I believe, and also Alabama. I could check, but they're US made. They're a foreign company. And so we have right now in our warehouse in Eagleville, 523 kilowatts of solar panels that are dedicated to this project. They are a tier 1 panel. They have a 25-year production guarantee. So they're guaranteed to produce a certain amount of energy 25 years out. And you can track that on the SolarEdge app for the life of it. And then there's a 12-year workmanship warranty. One thing I will say, if anything in a solar array is going to fail, it usually fails within the first 6 to 18 months. We call it the burn-in period, where the system is under stress. And then after that, it's kind of sleeps like a, well, I shouldn't say sleeps like a baby, but it just keeps running without any significant issues. But that's where we see any issues if they are going to happen. And we have less than 1% failure rate on that. Active Energies holds a 5-year workmanship warranty on the work that we do to install your system. So, we've been around a long time and we will continue to be around a long time. We are the largest, if not one of the largest solar installers in, I would say, the central third of Colorado, outside of Denver. Last year, we installed just about 2 megawatts of residential solar. So you're in good hands.
And Rich, can you talk a little bit about financing?
Sure. So we have a couple different financing options. There's one that's called an Easy Solar Loan. It's a credit union based out of Washington State. And then there's also the Renew program that's subsidized through the state of Colorado. We tend to guide people towards the Easy Solar Loan. And the reason for that is the Renew program has a limited loan term of about 15 years. So if you want to extend the loan term out to say 21 years and lower your payment, we recommend the other one. And the reason why we recommend those two different programs, I've actually read all of the contract documents. I don't know if I said I have a degree in economics too, and there's no prepayment penalty. Their interest rates are very, very good, and it's generally a very good deal for consumers. Just to kind of throw it out there, about 95% of our customers who finance solar, so no money out of pocket, they pay the same amount or a little bit less than their current average monthly utility bill. So it really works out economically to be a no-brainer for the vast majority of our homeowners.
Really interesting question. Can you speak a little bit to like array maintenance? Like who's responsible, the homeowner or Solarize? I think they meant maybe solar and active energies. Not sure.
So we don't do solar panel maintenance. And the reason for that is they just sit on your roof. We are blessed with our late afternoon storms. So even in the summer, we get a little rain and the panels will wash themselves off. If you want to optimize your performance, just get a hose out and you can spray them down and you'll get the majority of the dirt and grime off of them. But even if you don't do that, you probably only lose about 0.5% of energy production. So like for my home, my 16-year-old likes to get out there and spray it off. So he goes out and does it twice a year with a hose and a high-powered nozzle. But you don't have to manage them. They just sit there and collect energy. It's not like solar thermal where you've got pumps and maintenance and things like that. It just sits there, collects the sun, and you kind of forget about it after a while.
Great. So the panels have, you mentioned they have a 25-year warranty, but how about the other hardware?
The inverters have a 12-year warranty from the manufacturer. If a homeowner would like, you can pay a few $100s and extend that warranty up to 20 years. The individual panel hardware, the optimizers I discussed, have a 25-year warranty. The racking that we use is Unirack racking. It comes out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they have a 10-year warranty on their product. So at least 10 years on everything from a workmanship perspective.
And does the solar system affect in any way the cost of home insurance?
It usually does not. The utilities will require that for a system smaller than 10 kilowatts, that you have $300,000 of liability insurance. And then if it's over 10 kilowatts, they require $1 million. So some folks who get very large arrays to offset their power may need to increase their insurance coverage. But for most folks, they already have that as part of their homeowner's packet. But we walk through that with every homeowner and get a copy of the front page of their insurance to submit to the utility.
Great. I love this question. So if a person buys a system now based on the max size they are allowed, and then they decide to buy an electric car in 2 years, or do anything in the home, maybe install some heat pumps or heat pump water heater, is it possible to add to the system 2 years later?
Unfortunately, there is a maximum system size for Holy Cross and Glenwood Electric. There are some exceptions with Excel, but they tend to be more on the commercial side. So if you max out your system at 25 kilowatts, which is a lot, it's probably 3 times as much power as the average homeowner needs. You're going to be okay. If you are planning or just purchased an electric vehicle, I know Holy Cross, we work very closely with them. If you can show proof of ownership of an electric vehicle, say you buy a Tesla and it's coming next month, if you show proof of that, Holy Cross will allow you, based on the battery size in the car, to increase the size of your system from the get-go. So our company has 3 Chevy Volts We have 50 miles of electric range in each one of them. And so because of that, we were able to size the system on our roof of our building by another 9 kilowatts. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and can batteries be added later after the initial
Absolutely.
install?
If you have any interest in a battery, we would likely select a battery ready inverter versus kind of a normal one. So that's something that you need to discuss with Eric and our sales team, that you are interested in potentially adding batteries in the future. If you don't opt for, and it's a little bit more expensive inverter, but it gives you the ability to use what you've got and not have to replace that inverter to add batteries in the future.
Great. How are your installers trained?
Our installers, we have a continuous education program. So to operate a solar company in Colorado and to connect to the grid by any of the 3 utilities, a solar company is only required to have one person who's NABCEP certified overseeing it. Every single one of my team leads has the same NABCEP certification that I do, and it's over 80 hours of classes, 30 hours of OSHA training, and then they lead a team. And about 2/3 of our installers, we just hired 3 more people this week to support this program based on the overwhelming response that we've had. Over time, those folks will get training and they'll get at least their NABCEP associate, which is the entry level. It's about 20 hours of training on PV systems. And then we have an internal training program. Our average installer has been with us for more than 5 years. We don't have turnover. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. Are the panels pretty resistant to hail?
That's a great question. Everybody wants to know that. So Active Energies was started in Boulder in 2006 and then moved up to the Vail area in 2008. So we have a few systems that are down there. I don't know if anybody remembers the hailstorm that knocked out the Colorado Mills Mall, but we have about 5 solar arrays within 3 or 4 miles of that location. And what was it, 2.5 years ago when there was that big hailstorm, we got calls from homeowners saying, we need you to take off the solar array because they're replacing the roof. Not a single panel was broken. And we're talking 1-inch hail at 100 miles an hour of force. So they are very resilient. And golf balls are a different story. We've installed solar on golf courses, and unfortunately a golf ball, I've got one hanging outside my office that's got a golf ball mark in it.
I'm just going through some of the questions I think you already touched on, already answered. How many holes in the roof for each rack?
So it depends on what type of material your roof is. We use a self-sealing bracket. Knock on wood. We have yet to have a roof leak in one of our installs. So if we do penetrate, we use a self-sealing product, much like any roofer would. We use appropriate flashings around penetrations through the roof for electrical runs. And then if you have a metal roof, we use a non-penetrating product. So it really depends on your type of roof, but we haven't had any roofs leak, and the products we use are fully warranted. Plus our warranty would cover it if there was any issue that was related to solar.
Great. How sustainable is the Colorado net metering law in the long term? If there are too many customers, the utility need money to cover overheads and capital equipment and transmission and distribution costs.
That's an awesome question. So right now you sign an agreement with Excel or Holy Cross or Glenwood Electric for 20 years. And they capture what's called a renewable energy credit, and they're required by law, federal law, to capture these renewable energy credits. They're incentivized to have distributed solar on homeowners' rooftops. So you actually sign an agreement that you're locked in for that net metering for 20 years. So after that, I'm not 100% sure. There are various states. Colorado is a very solar-friendly state, so it would take a pretty strong congressional push in the state legislature to change that. Other states, for example, California, you have to put 4 kilowatt hours on the grid to get 1 back. So you get 25% of your energy back from them. That's why a lot of people do batteries in California. And then states like Hawaii, they have so much solar in Hawaii that they don't have net metering. So pretty much everybody installs batteries in Hawaii and self-consumes at night.
Great.
We're in good shape here.
What does a 10 kW battery cost?
The average cost of a 10 kilowatt battery it would add about $10,000 to $12,000 to the cost of a system. Adding an additional 10 kW battery is a lot less because there's just infrastructure. So there's some control equipment and things like that, and we'll customize it for you. But on a loan basis, if you were getting a loan, it adds about $45 to $50 a month to your solar loan payment for a single battery.
Great. I love this question because I've been getting this question a lot too. If your roof is okay today and you get the solar panels, but you need a new roof 5 years from now, what kind of services do you guys offer?
We get a lot of calls from roofing companies because we basically charge time and materials. We don't make any profit on folks who get their roofs redone. And that's a big promise for me to make, but I'm the owner, so I get to do it. On average, to uninstall and then reinstall a solar array on a roof that's getting replaced years after is about $1,500 to $2,500. So it's not much. And if the federal tax credits are still in effect, then you could take that tax credit on that labor and materials. But we view it as when somebody buys solar from us, it's a 25-year relationship that we have with our customers. And we provide the same level of service. So if you sold your home, the new buyer would get the same training that you got when we installed it. We want people to be educated about solar, about what they have on their roof and the benefits therein.
Great. All right, let's do 2 more questions. And then if we don't address your questions tonight, we'll follow up, maybe create a little document we can answer these questions and then send it back to everyone. So how well does snow clear off panels during the winter?
It depends on the steepness of your roof. Snow starts shedding pretty well on roofs that are a 26 degree pitch or greater. And that is about a 6 to 712 pitch. So my roof is an 18 degree pitch or just under 19 degree pitch. It's a 412. So snow will sit on it and then slide down. The panels are all black. So once the sun hits it, it starts melting. It takes about 4 days for my array to fully clear of snow if we get, say, less than 2 inches. But it will continue to slide down. If your roof is very, very flat, there's a high likelihood your panels will not see sun all winter. And what you can do is you could actually get a snow rake. We don't recommend people getting up on their roofs, slip and fall hazards, things like that. You are not trained and likely not roped up. But there are extendable roof rakes that are plastic. You can buy them at Lowe's. They're about $45. They have a plastic blade. And what I recommend is if you can reach the bottom row of panels, pull the snow on the bottom row of panels, the snow will continue to slide down. And after a day or so, you can your panels will be all clear.
Great, thanks. If you could do roof or ground install, which one would you prefer?
Well, it depends on what your goal is. I can tell you right now, ground is more expensive because there's more infrastructure. We have heavy equipment, so we'd have to basically do trenches. It's required by code that the electrical conductors are 3 feet down. So we have to bring out a big trencher and pour concrete. That adds cost and time to your install. So it's much easier and more cost effective to do rooftop solar. It's about $1 more a watt, depending on how long the electrical wire run is from the array to your home. Hopefully that answers the question.
Great. All right. I'm going to pick the last question. If I have a roof mount, what data do I need to give to the HOA to make this happen? How will HOA approval affect the timing of the installation?
Typically, we start when we are working with you. So our sales rep will sit down and present your proposal. They'll ask if you have an HOA, who the contacts are, and then when you sign the contract, we will submit all of our plans to your HOA and the DRB, the Design Review Board or Design Review Committee, for your HOA. So we handle all of that for you. Depending on the HOA, some HOAs require a little bit more homeowner involvement, but a lot of them we do on our own. So we try to make this process as simple and easy as possible for people to go solar. So we do all the heavy lifting and all the legwork. But generally speaking, depending on your HOA, a lot of them meet once a month, or they can I've seen HOAs send out emails to the board members, and because it can't be denied on the roof, it's an email approval around. Some HOAs have architects that look at the design plans. So it really depends on your situation, but we do a lot of the work for you and involve the homeowner when necessary. But that being said, your rebates are reserved as soon as you sign the contract. And then we start that process. Generally, it may add a week to the timing on installation, but a lot of times not.
Great. Thank you so much, Rich. We still have a few more questions, but I think we're just going to follow up with everyone. We're going to be sharing the recording of the webinar as well as the slides. Here's our website, garfieldcleanenergy.org/solarize. If you're ready to sign up for it, if you feel like we're very convincing today, please go to our website and sign up for Solarize, or call our office if you have any questions, 970-704-9200. This concludes our webinar. Thank you everybody so much for attending. Let us know if you have any other questions, and we'll follow up with everybody soon. Have a great evening.